Hey guys, when you're looking at properties and the areas they're located in, you're going to hear different classifications, right? Class B area or Class C property. Getting to know these important factors will help in outlining the quality and the rating of a property. So today we go into the classes for the buildings and the areas that they're located in and why it should matter to you. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Agostino and I'm a real estate entrepreneur, syndicator, and investor. I like to share my stories, lessons, and advice from my journey in real estate, particularly multifamily real estate. And I enjoy helping others get into the real estate business as well. I do that through the Bulletproof Cashflow social media channels and through coaching, both online and in person. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Also, I'd love to know who you are and what you're up to. So go ahead and say hi on social. Okay, so property and area classifications will reflect the risk and return of a deal because they're graded according to a combination of both physical and geographical characteristics respectively. So what the building is and where it's located. The letter grades are subjective, right? So it's classified, A through D. And they're given to properties by brokers, buyers, sellers, that consider the combination of the factors like age of the property, the location, the tenant income, different amenities, and the rental rate that'll drive these different grades. So it also drives the cap rate as well. And this will vary depending on the demand of the market. If you're in tune with your area, you can determine whether the asking price is in line with the market. Now, there's no magic formula by which properties are placed into these classes, but a common breakdown is A, B, C, and D, or like I mentioned a second ago. And from there are two different classifications of the property, and that's the first is the area class, and the second is the property class. Now, the property class is centered around the physical condition and the age of the property, maybe the amenities, what demographics in the community, that kind of thing. With the area class, on the other hand, you're looking at the age of the neighborhood and what is local to the neighborhood. So you may consider like crime rates, demographics typically broken down by zip code, perhaps, right? Maybe what amenities are local too. You're also looking at what kinds of commerce or retailer in that space as well. For instance, if there are a handful of like national stores in your property or near your property versus like an industrial trucking site across the street, those are two different areas, two different classes. So before we get into the classes of the area and the property, let's go over why we use them in multifamily and commercial investments in the first place. When a broker or a seller tells us about the classification of a property, it's supposed to let us know what kind of demographics and neighborhood we're talking about and the condition of the property just by taking a quick look at it. Classes also tell us the cap rate of the property in the area that they're located in. So classes are like grades, from class A to class D. The higher the grade, the better the property and the condition. And the better the property, the lower the cap rate. When it comes to Class A, think of properties you'll find in a busy downtown area. It could be that all-glass multifamily tower with a pool, sauna, shopping on the first floor, very affluent tenant profile. A building like that might cost $50 million plus. The cap rate will be low on an asset like this, but a large hedge fund with plenty of money that they'll buy that thing in a heartbeat. They don't mind paying a premium for these great properties. Now, keep in mind that classes of property not only vary from A to D, but there's degrees within each one. You'll have like an A minus or a B plus property. Perhaps you'll have a C minus property, but it's in a B area. Generally that rating will go all the way down to a D minus, to an A plus and everything in between. And because brokers and sellers and other people classify the properties differently, it's a bit subjective. So this is especially important to remember when you're getting that new offering memorandum from a broker with a bright colored Photoshop building on the front. It's meant to really drive a higher property classification, but it's not always the case. It's worth noting that the classification of the area is far more important than the classification of the property. If you have a C minus building in a B plus area, you can make renovations and drive higher rents to get that property to a B plus, like the area that it's in. In contrast, if you have a B plus property in a C minus area, it'll be hard to get those affluent people to move there as they won't want to spend any time in that space. They won't have the amenities that they want to see. They won't feel safe spending time outside either. So you want to avoid those types of situations. And as I mentioned, getting into the area classes is far more important than the property classes. So In a Class A area, you're in the best neighborhood in the city. It'll have the best schools, lots of high-end retail, maybe a top shopping mall with nearby restaurants. The neighborhood's typically no more than 5 years old. In a B area, it was once the A area, of yesteryear, and still a good neighborhood, low crime rate. The school system is decent. The homes are still a bit pricey, but the neighborhood may be 5 to 10 years old, and the styling of the houses may be starting to look a little dated. Okay, in a C area, this is where you're going to have your workforce housing. The neighborhoods are decent. The homes are more than 10 years old, but usually between 30 to 50 years old, sometimes even older than that. The community is made up of these blue-collar workers. Maybe they work in food service or just your everyday employee, right? The school system is not the best, but it's not the worst. The people there that live in Class C's and B's, they have a high dependency on jobs. They live paycheck to paycheck, or they're not high-income earners. Now, in a Class D area, you wouldn't feel safe walking the streets at night. In the real estate business, we refer to these areas as like the war zone. Here you're going to see graffiti, you're going to see gangs, you're going to see homeless people hanging out in front of the property. The school systems are very poor. There's going to be high crime, boarded up houses. You get the idea. These are your highest cap rates, but it's also the highest risk properties. When we're looking at properties, however, it follows the same grading, with A plus being the highest quality and D's, your D minus being the poorest quality. Now, in an A plus or an A property, you're going to have typically new construction. It'll have like a doorman, a resort style pool with a clubhouse, fully equipped gyms, and a sauna. These units will have quartz countertops, glass backsplashes, stainless steel appliances, upgraded flooring, the whole 9 yards. They put a great deal of effort to appeal to the high affluent crowd that'll pay the highest rents in the area. They're looking for the best properties with the best construction and have high quality building infrastructure that's with up-to-date technology. So as you can guess, Class A properties are usually in Class A areas. So residents will have access to the great shopping, the restaurants, the leisure activities that I mentioned before. Sometimes you'll see a Class A property in a transitioning area that's going through some gentrification. The landlords of these types of properties are usually institutional investors that are not concerned with that low cap rate too. So rather, they're looking for safe and consistent returns for their investment. But bear in mind that these Class A tenants will be very sensitive in times of economic slowdown. If these high income earners suffer a job loss or business slowdown, it could impact the general vacancy of the property. In B class properties, the buildings would have been well maintained. They'll still have decent amenities. They'll be on the older side, 8 to 15 years old, but they still look great. You'll have this, granite countertops of yesteryear, the white appliances, a nice gym maybe. Similar to what I said about the area, these properties may have been Class A before, but now they look a little dated. The people that live here would be, mid-level managers, business professionals, people with young families, higher than average income earners. Oftentimes, value-add investors look for these properties as investments since well-located B-class properties can be returned to A-class through some renovation, maybe some unit improvements or updates to amenities or tech upgrades as well. In Class C properties, they're still in good shape. They're in decent locations as well. They don't have any fancy amenities, if at all. There may be a laundry or a small gym, but it's, that's about it. Regardless, it's still a sense of community. Like I mentioned, this is where the local workforce housing will reside. So you'll have your blue-collar workers there, young people just starting out maybe. These properties, they're usually quite older, 20 to 50 years old, but, they're still hopefully well-maintained, and if they're not, you can pick up a deal. But it costs more money to operate because it's older, so it's going to impact your expense ratio. Because the category is so big, of these Class C properties, that means that there's plenty of that inventory available. And but like I said before, these Class C types of people, the demographic, they live in paycheck to paycheck. So, underwriting that tenant that's going to move into these properties is very, very important. And I covered that in another video, so we'll leave a link in the description. But as far as an investor concerned, that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck. In Class D properties, these are buildings of the poorest condition. The area may have been great at one time, But now, the tenants have moved out, they're gone, and you just have shells of properties. The tenants are typically rely on government assistance, and because it's high crime areas, you have steel doors, cameras, fences, all kinds of bad stuff. I recommend to my coaching students just to stay away from those places when they're starting out. Now, in a strong economy, affluent people will move from their Class B units to the Class A properties, right? A Class C will upgrade to a Class B, and when a person's living in a Class D, they're going to go up to a Class C. In a weak economy, the reverse tends to happen. And each of these tenant profiles will downgrade to tighten their belts because they're worried about their income stream. Now, my partners and I, we prefer to invest in your Class Bs and Cs, your workforce housing, and we're looking for Class B areas. This workforce housing is always in demand. It will weather the cycles that happens every 8 to 10 years. Now, finally, keep in mind that this is just a general guideline of multifamily classification. There's no formal standard for classifying a building or an area for that matter. Buildings that you're looking at should be viewed with other buildings that are in the local submarket, meaning a B-class property in Miami is not the same as a B-class property in Cleveland or the same as what's in Dallas. And a Class C property in New York City will probably be more desirable than a Class C property in Topeka, Kansas. So they're all different. It's totally subjective. Anyway, what sort of assets do you like to invest in? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and also like to know if there's a topic you want me to cover. Please leave it in the comments too. Love to cover it. And if you like this content, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, and share it. Also, check out our social media channels, and if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that bell and get notified when we get new videos out. If you're looking for more coaching or more content rather, reach out to us at bulletproofcashflow.com. We're working on getting new content to you guys all the time to help you build success in the world of multifamily real estate. Be great, guys. Talk to you soon.